Making goals throughout the year is a really smart choice because we need to remind ourselves that we can't accomplish everything immediately. And once you do accomplish those goals, maybe you accomplish them in February. What are your goals going to be for the rest of the year? Always keeping something in mind and working towards something can be really valuable for you and even for your mental health and well-being. It gives you purpose and drive and sort of some motivation to keep doing things.
Nearly 75% of the U.S. population, or about 189 million people, are making resolutions for 2021, with 13% admitting they likely won't accomplish their goal or follow through. Research shows that as we age, we're less likely to make resolutions. However, a K-State research and extension specialist on aging encourages older adults to make resolutions and to set goals. On today's Sound Living, New Year's resolution ideas for older adults. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. Money is usually the top resolution, followed by losing weight. However, health tops the list for 2021. Extension aging specialist Erin Yelland says it's important to set goals and to stick to your resolutions. Erin, it's kind of amazing how many Americans make resolutions, almost 200 million.
Yeah, so the research estimates that for 2021, about 189 million Americans, or 74% of the population, intend to make New Year's resolutions.
What you found that was interesting is their priorities have changed a little bit.
Absolutely. So it was really fascinating to me, but also not surprising at the same time. So most of the resolutions that people want to make for 2021 focus on health first and foremost, followed by self-improvement, money, and family. Given that health is number one, that's not surprising given the current state of a global pandemic. But what's interesting is that has swapped from recent years. In the past, New Year's resolutions were typically focused on money, and regarding health, people were more specifically focused on losing weight and eating a healthier diet.
And now they're just saying overall health, right?
Yes. So people are more concerned about just maintaining their overall health, thinking about hygiene, wearing their masks, social distancing, staying safe, doing more of those overall health precautions rather than just focusing on losing weight and exercising more.
One of the things I found kind of fascinating was the fact that we tend to make fewer resolutions or maybe even stop making resolutions as we get older.
So there's some really interesting research that's out about New Year's resolutions that's really fascinating, and they have found that 89% of millennials have resolutions. But as you get older, the research notes that only 61% of baby boomers have resolutions. So it's interesting to see how generationally these things change.
It's interesting that so many people are making resolutions, but at the same time, some of them are going into this knowing that this may not work out, I may not be successful.
So lack of self-control is the most reported reason for individuals not reaching their goal. And about 13% of people who make New Year's resolutions go into it knowing that they likely won't accomplish their goal or follow through.
I guess the key there is kind of having that plan and sticking to it.
Yeah, so having a plan and sticking to it is very important. And research shows that doing 3 steps with your resolutions can be really helpful. So reduce, implement, and celebrate. And what they mean by reduce is getting your goal to something that's manageable. So instead of saying that today I'm going to do 100 push-ups when you've not done push-ups for years, instead maybe you should make your goal doing 5 push-ups instead. Regarding implement, that's really about when do you think you can fit this into your life? If you want to do those push-ups, is it best to do them first thing when you wake up in the morning, or maybe you want to do them right before you have lunch? So find a routine and stick with it. And then importantly as well, celebrate your accomplishments. take the time to recognize yourself and do something that makes you happy to celebrate what you've been doing.
I seem to remember also the fact that they say sometimes if you write it down or if you tell a friend or put it on the refrigerator, that sometimes that helps your motivation.
Absolutely. So I've seen, those ideas about sticking it on the refrigerator, putting it on your bathroom mirror, maybe, attaching it to the dashboard in your car. There's so many things that you can, place around your house and within your daily life to help remind you to keep going and stay strong and accomplish your goals.
As an aging specialist, what do we see in terms of older adults? Do they often make resolutions, or is this something that they feel like, I don't need to do that anymore?
So while the number of individuals who make resolutions decreases as we age, we still see that many older adults are making resolutions, and a lot of them hopefully will follow through. So we do see that more older adults follow through with their resolutions, but fewer of them are making those resolutions.
So in terms of resolutions, what would be some good ideas and maybe why these would be good ideas for older adults to focus on?
So one of the things that I recommend is reviewing your legal documents regarding your durable power of attorney for health care, your living wills, and then your financial documents as well. It's recommended that you review these once a year anyways, but one of the resolutions this year could be to review those. Also, another one to think about is getting up to date on your vaccination. This is incredibly important given the current global pandemic that we're going through, but that could be a New Year's resolution for you. Get up to date on those vaccinations, maybe go see the doctor if you haven't done that in a while, get your eyes checked, do the whole round of getting some physicals done.
Along those same lines, probably a good time to inventory medications?
Yeah, so always going through your medications, a couple times a year is really important. So do you have what you need, first of all? That's something that we should be looking at regularly. But then also a couple of times a year, you should be looking around your house. Do you have any extra medications lying around? I know that people frequently change medications and prescriptions. So once you change a medication and you're no longer taking one, it's really important to get rid of that. Also, just looking at your over-the-counter medications that you take maybe for headaches or joint pain, making sure that those aren't expired, and if you have extra stuff lying around, to get rid of it.
And if you have several medications, you can also ask your pharmacist to arrange those so that you take them at certain times, and they will actually pre-package them that way.
Yeah, so that's one of the really awesome perks that has recently come out from a lot of pharmacies and other medical services is that they will put them together for you to help you remember what you're taking and when you're taking it, and that can make it a lot more simple for people to remember.
Another thing you suggest is to try something new or learn something new.
I love this resolution of trying something new or learning something new, and I think in 2020, many of us were forced to do that, especially as older adults. We're doing more of the social distancing and, staying at home. They've learned more technology, Zooming with the grandkids or using different portals and video technologies. So I encourage you to keep that up and try to decide what else you can learn.
Older adults have actually learned that they can do this, and it doesn't have to be complicated. They can do it a simple way, find out the way that works for them, and that way they can stay in touch with their kids, their grandkids, great-grandkids. Makes it so much easier.
Yes, and I really appreciate that comment. And something that I always love to refute is that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Old dogs can learn new tricks, and you can learn new things. Just because you're an older adult doesn't mean that you have to stop learning.
I know my dad is almost 80 years old, and he was able to attend church virtually. He was able to talk with us when we needed to do face-to-face conversation. So it can be done because he is not the most technological guy.
And there's so many older adults who've never really used technology before, and they've been able to figure it out. These days technology is so intuitive and easy to use and user-friendly that I really encourage people to try it out. Oftentimes things can be connected with the click of your mouse, and it's not all of this, downloading of things or going out and buying the CD to download onto your computer. It's really a lot more simple.
I think another thing we're seeing as a result of the coronavirus pandemic is the fact that people are spending more time at home. A lot of people are working from home, having the kids at home doing their schooling, and maybe a good time for everyone, but especially older adults, to think about that decluttering and just reducing the amount of stuff you have in the house.
So decluttering and reducing your possessions is something that I love reminding older adults about. Many of the younger generations, already have their own households and have their own belongings. And many of us also just aren't as, into all of the trinkets and collectibles and things like that. So as an older adult, think about how you can reduce your possessions so that you're not needing to pass so many things on to the next generation. So this is a good time to do it when we're still, stuck at home and trying to stay as safe as possible. Also thinking about clutter, that can be a huge fall risk for older adults. So looking around your house, what can you get off of the floors, for example? There's a lot of things that we can be doing to make our home a safer environment.
In terms of keeping the resolution more at the forefront, this is not something where we have to make a list of 15 things that we want to accomplish in 2021. This might be doing one or two initially, and once you've accomplished those, then maybe you set another goal, because just because it's a New Year's resolution doesn't mean that you only set it at the beginning of the year. We should really be doing this throughout the year. Yeah,
making goals throughout the year is a really smart choice, because we need to remind ourselves that we can't accomplish everything immediately. And once you do accomplish those goals, maybe you accomplish them in February. What are your goals going to be for the rest of the year? Always keeping something in mind and working towards something can be really valuable for you and even for your mental health and well-being. It gives you purpose and drive and sort of some motivation to keep doing things.
I know we're still having to socially distance from others, but some of these projects, it sounds like, for older adults could be done with children or family members, and maybe something that would be enjoyable for all of them.
Yes. So New Year's resolutions are a family affair in many cases. So, working with your children or grandchildren to learn something new, or maybe they're the ones who can, go out to the library and pick up new things for you to be learning. There's a lot of ways that family can be incorporated into these New Year's resolutions. Also thinking about how they can help you perhaps go through your medications, making those updates on legal documents. All of these sorts of things, family members can really come into play to help, but also to make them more fun, and you can learn and play together.
I like the idea of you can teach an old dog new tricks. I think that's what I took away from this is don't be afraid to try new things and go out there and really experience the things that you want to experience.
Absolutely. One of the things that I learned when I was going through all of my schooling was that, when you're an older adult, and you start to believe that you can no longer do things, that really changes your mindset. So you should never believe and automatically assume that just because you're an older adult, you can't or shouldn't do something new.
Extension has a number of publications and a lot of information. How can they find aging information?
So aging information is readily accessible through K-State Research and Extension. You can always contact your local K-State Research and Extension office to learn more about what opportunities we have for learning more about aging and how to age well.
That's K-State Research and Extension Aging Specialist Erin Yelland. Information on healthy aging is also available on the Kansas State University Adult Development and Aging website, aging.ksu.edu. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.